Hello everyone, I'm Yuanjing Liao, an international student from China. In this video, I'm going to talk about the challenge of Americans' resumptions of work. More than half a year has passed since the outbreak of COVID-19, and as a student from China, I haven't been following the tendencies of the epidemic around the world. From China to Korea to Japan to Europe, and the virus is finally spreading here in the United States. You have no idea how quickly time flies in isolation. Can you imagine we haven't been in the dorm for more than 4 months since spring break? According to Johns Hopkins, as of July 15, more than 3.5 million people in the United States had been diagnosed with COVID-19, and nearly 114,000 people had died. That is more than the number of American soldiers who died in World War I. Comparing just 20 days ago, you will find the epidemic is spreading rapidly in the United States in just over 20 days. The number of confirmed cases in the United States has increased by more than 1 million, which is horrible. If you look closely at these curves, you will see the growth rate has also doubled. According to the latest White House data mode, more than 200,000 people in the United States could lose their lives as a result of the outbreak by October. And the CDC recently said at least 20 million Americans have had coronavirus. Here just who's at the highest risk. Also, New Mexico is doing fairly well compared to other populous states. Our entire state has reported fewer than 10,000 active cases, but we cannot afford to be complacent. So, what is the challenge? In our state, New Mexico, the number of confirmed cases has more than doubled. Also in Bernalillo County, where UM is located, the situation is not that worse. You can still see a very high diagnosis rate over the last 40 days. So, what makes the United States so powerless in the face of the epidemic? A very important reason is that people, especially the government, did not pay attention to the virus in the first place. There are even a lot of people, like this woman in the picture, who are strongly opposite to wearing a mask, who don't want to believe in science, who don't want to believe in authority, who want to believe in conspiracy theories. Early neglect in the United States led to the spread of the virus across the country. Besides, the United States has a large and abandoned land area per capita, which makes people like to live in a single house. This could have slowed down the spread of the virus, but it also brought great difficulty to the government's grassroots anti-epidemic management work. With the development of the city, the area of the city is getting bigger and bigger. For example, Guangzhou in China has a population of 50 million and an area of 2,000 square kilometers, while Los Angeles metropolitan area in the United States has a population of 13 million and an area of 3,100 square kilometers. So, Americans emphasize the concept of community, while Chinese emphasize the concept of neighborhood. Is a more subdivided concept than community. China can conduct isolation and the management based on neighborhood, but Americans cannot. The development of China's big city will turn the surrounding cities and the countries into monocapital districts, making overall planning easier. What are the possible solutions? Without new strong government action, the best that can be hoped for is to encourage people to telecommunicate and work from home, which is hard for some industries such as manufacturing. If no new measures are taken, and the state is judgely and obsessed on the number of confirmed cases, and then if the outbreak goes back and first again, the states shut down again, people may be at higher risk until a vaccine is developed. Now, I'm going to show you a clip from a CNN reporter's experience in Beijing.
I thought I'd show you around to see the striking difference in cultural attitudes.
A weekday morning rush hour. Walk with us through the streets of Beijing. Look to my right, my left, behind me, and even headed right toward me. You notice just about every commuter wearing a face mask. In China, from passengers boarding trains and planes to those with shorter commutes, riding scooters, or hopping on the metro rail, masks, concerns of the virus, still very fresh here in China's capital, especially with a recent cluster outbreak. That's partly why folks of all ages wear them. And unlike in parts of the U.S., it is not political here.
I think people really take it as a social responsibility to wear a mask.
Does it seem like a controversial issue when you think about putting your mask on every day?
You know, for me, it's really just common sense. We want to protect each other, so everyone's wearing a mask.
Some folks treat masks like a pair of cheap sunglasses, keeping spare ones in places you're likely to come back to. It is just one of many layers of protection from COVID-19 that is in place here. Mass testing is routine and in some cases mandatory, and contact tracing is strict. Call a rideshare and both you and the driver must show one another your digital health code, certifying you have not been in high-risk areas of the virus. Step into a local shopping mall with us, and it's a temperature check first and another check of the health code. At the food court, you order by phone to avoid contact, and you pick up with your mask on.
The one time you can actually take off your mask when you're eating.
That is if you're dining in. Even the chefs working behind a protective glass cover up. And as soon as the diners are done, look, they're immediately putting their masks back on as they walk out.
Naturally, there are times you forget, right? You walk out of your house barefaced, you're in a rush. If the strange looks don't remind you, then a police officer or a security guard will sometimes gesture to you and shout. And you realize they are telling you to put on a mask. But now you will even find folks who have forgotten to wear a mask, maybe if they head out. And if you encounter them, say in the elevator, they will quickly realize it. They become embarrassed. They try to cover up their mouths with their clothes. They'll turn to the wall of the elevator so as to not breathe near you. Or Brooke, in some cases, they will even step off the elevator just as a courtesy.
China's repeatedly extensions of the Healthy Code during the epidemic. The Healthy Code is based on the real data which can be declared online by citizens or those who have returned to work. After background review, a QR code can be generated for individuals. The QR code is an electronic voucher from an individual to enter and exit the local area. Based on this moving epidemic information, the government can classify different regions and set different conditions for the resumption of work in different regions. In the prevention and control of the epidemic and the resumption of production and work, the Healthy Code can achieve efficacy management of the flow of people, improve the efficacy of inspection in crowded places such as office buildings, shopping malls, subways, and the railway stations, and avoid excesses, contact, and the gathering of people. This approach is not technically difficult to replicate, but it may be subject to legal restriction and concern about privacy violations. But it has proved to be very effective and feasible in China. If I want to fly back to China, I have to fill out this form 40 days before boarding, and only if this code is green will I be allowed to board. After entering the country, I have to stay in dinosaur quarantine hotel for 14 days before I can go home or go where I want to go. Likewise, state governments and business should take this opportunity to encourage people to spend online, promote the development of online shopping platforms, meal ordering platforms, and create as many jobs as possible to alleviate the current high unemployment rate and reduce the interpersonal contact. How this affects our community? As I mentioned earlier, this epidemic is about all of us, and if there are people in the community who don't take it serious, and then there is a chance that when there are cases in that community, others may not be prepared. Keep in mind that it's a highly contagious virus, and if one person is unlikely enough to be infected and not detected and isolated in time, then the entire community could face exposure transmission. So, for the sake of your family, your friends, your neighborhoods, and yourself, please take this epidemic seriously. And the very least, wear a mask when you must go out and maintain a social distance from others. Here is my reference list. And that is end of my video. Thank you for watching.